Yo, what is up, YouTube? It's your boy, Damn the OP Man, and I'm back after many years and many wows. And here we are with some APUSH homework. Yeah, more schoolwork on my YouTube channel. And hi, Mr. Dean. Today we are doing it on George Washington, the superhero he was or is made up to be by me. And his superhero name is Leader Boy. With the 3 eyes, Boiii, because we're from the Boiii gang, and let's get into it. I guess there's no point in just sitting around, and my thing isn't working. And so his origin story. So we have George Washington, and he was born on February 22nd, 1732. That's many years ago, in Pope's Creek, Virginia. And yeah, there you go. That's his origin story. Alright. So he was born to a wealthy family. He had 5 siblings, and his dad was on his second wife because the first one, something happened. So he was part of the second, I think. I'm pretty sure. And George Washington ended up marrying Martha Dandridge Custis, or Martha Washington, I guess. No. Okay. And so when he was young, he learned to farm, raise stock, and survey. Now, he was pretty much born and raised on plantations. Actually, I got it right here. On plantations. And he ended up becoming a Virginia plantation owner. And became head of Mount Vernon at age 20, age 20, because his older brother, which was, I think, his stepbrother, his older stepbrother died from something. You know, diseases back then, you're like dead. And he ended up becoming the head of Mount Vernon, which I don't think it was called that back then, but it eventually became called Mount Vernon. And alright, so his first military appearance was when major military appearance was when he led militia in Virginia to fight the French. This was like before the French Indian War. This was like right from the beginning of America's whole war stuff, where first it was the French Indian War, and then later on the Revolutionary War, and George Washington was right in the middle of all of it. And this militia that he led was a far weaker force than the French, especially in numbers, and they had an early victory before being overwhelmed by the French. And here's a thingy. What's it called? Tobacco. A tobacco plantation. And, you know, it's kind of surprising because George Washington thought this perfect being, and he was a good owner to slaves, from what I understand. Like, he respected them, especially the ones that were close to him. But he still owned slaves, and he had a plantation thing. And he also believed that farming was important. Yeah, because who doesn't love to farm? So his purpose. So I would say, as a superhero for him, his initial purpose was to really just to help protect the colonies and allow them to achieve their individual freedom and become their own nation. And that's that's his first purpose in my that's why he became a military leader, to help, in my opinion, as though it's not history. And then his second one, when he was, because he never wanted to be president, it was kind of forced upon him, but he took the role and he used it effectively, and he was able to unite the United States of America. Basically, before the thingy, alright, so before there was the Articles of Confederation, when there were the Articles, you know, they had an initial president before the Articles failed, and then they created the Constitution, and that's where George Washington took power, and he was like, alright, let me help set everything up. And so he helped kind of unite these individual states under the Articles and created the whole USA. And he was able to bring peace and freedom, which kind of, well, the peace and freedom parts kind of goes back to the American Revolution, but he was able to unite the USA. That was like his goal. And then to maintain stability and growth. So he joined the Confederation to help, or not the Confederation, the Constitution, the new government, to help set up America and make it amazing, you know, create this prosperous place we're in today. You know, I don't talk about the current politics right now because they're kind of a mess, but but to create the prosperity we had over the last 200 years. Like, he was able to set an example. Oh, wait, that's the next one. He was able to set an example for all the presidents who would come after him. And this was due to the work he put in and, like, for example, his farewell speech. His farewell speech. So in that, he says not to avoid having major factions, like two-party systems, which unfortunately is the power we have today. So he did these things to help create stability in America and to allow America to grow and become as powerful of a force it is today. And I believe that was his biggest purpose, like to help America get set up so it can become something as strong as it is today. His superpowers, you know, I kind of leaked the first one, but big brains, it takes some intellect. And I had to say big brains because, I don't know, PewDiePie or something. But the big brains, he was a leader, a strategician. Alright, I can't even say my own words. And the example I had was the grand strategy to take back New York. Now, basically, what this grand strategy was they didn't even end up taking New York. It was Yorktown, I think they ended up taking. And basically, like, he had this whole like strategy where we need a decisive victory, right? To like help everybody feel better and to like show that America has more power and more capabilities than the British and other nations think. So he had a grand strategy, and he used this grand strategy. He executed in like 1781 to take back Yorktown, but it was originally for New York, and then I got too lazy to update it. Now his second superpower is ramp up, and you know this one I actually really hyped by the name because ramp up. But okay, you'll understand in a second. So basically, the whole idea behind ramp up is he can motivate others to follow him, and be able to execute like really hard tasks. So the example I had for that was the Continental Army's famous crossing over the Delaware River. Now basically, they wanted to attack a British fortress. And so George Washington, he had an attack strategy where they would go the night of Christmas Eve. I don't know. I'm not Christian, but yeah, you know, if you got Christmas, you know, I'm sorry, I can't help you with that. But basically, they attacked during the Christmas Eve, and they had 3 like areas of ships. Wait, actually, I think. Okay, wait. I'm sorry, I leaked it. So basically, they had 3 sets of ships, and basically, like 3 sets of ship areas. All right, whatever. They came from 3 directions over the Delaware River, and it was like during a stormy night. You know, Christmas Eve. It's snowing. It's cold, and only one of them actually made it across. But they were able to have an effective attack because nobody expected it. And he used this victory to help motivate the army and make them believe that they actually stand a chance, and which in turn eventually led to their winning the war. Well, a couple years later, but like it just ramped them up. Like, you know, they got hyped up, they got excited. We're gonna do it. They got easy. Yo, we took a dub. We can take another one. And you know, it's kind of funny. Back in that time period, the word oof, I kind of planned on adding this to the slides, but I forgot. The word oof was used a ton back then. Like, if you look at text, it was used more than it is used today. So, thus, they're attacking a bunch of British soldiers, and the soldiers are like trying to celebrate their Christmas Eve, and then they're like, oof, oof, oof. Oh, we got shot, oof, oof, oof. Yeah, that was the war. I'm just speaking facts. Google it. And so great hair is his last superpower. Like I probably could have added a lot more stuff, but look at his hair. Look at that hair. Like, apparently his hair was all natural. Like, I found a whole New York Times passage on it, and his hair, like, he spent hours on his hair. Like, he wanted his hair to be perfect, and that was all natural. None of those wig stuff. I will not curse. I was gonna curse. But none of those none of those fake stuff out here, because we're all 100% natural, grass-fed, non-GMO back then. Yeah, you know. And he really cared for his hair. And here we have a painting, a picture of them crossing the Delaware River. And if I'm not wrong, which I probably am, that's Washington, but I'm probably wrong. Because, you know, misinformation. APUSH. Our enemy. Oh, this was not supposed to appear yet. Okay. So this guy is 2 people forward. That's King George III. So, you know, the reason why I put King George III as, who was the current king of England during the American Revolution, as an enemy of his, is because they're literally revolting against the British power, and they're defeating it. And, you know, King George III trying to do everything in his power to hold on. You know, this is when the British Empire was super powerful, was the superpower with a super strong navy, and he's fighting against it. So, of course, one of his biggest enemies is going to be the king. And then Commander-in-Chief William Howe, he's a Howe. Howe, basically, he commanded, it literally says he commanded the British Army. And because Washington commanded the American Army, you know, they're naturally going to be enemies, I guess. And now we have Horatio Gates. Now, Horatio Gates is the black sheep of the 3, because he's not British. Well, he might be. I don't know, because all of them are like half British at that point. But Horatio Gates was fighting for the American army. He was an American general. But basically, he was the other like major power general back then. And a lot of people wanted him to lead the armies, right? George Washington wasn't like the only person people like looked up to. It was also Horatio Gates. And Horatio Gates had a lot of wins in the North, I believe. I might be wrong, but he won a lot of stuff. Like, fights. And at one point, he tried to discredit and replace George Washington. Like, there was a whole mess with that. And people did support him. So it's not even like he was alone in that, but like he was kind of an enemy to George Washington specifically, but he was for America. So it's a little bit messy at that point. Now, his kryptonite, you know, everybody's got the kryptonite, you know. Superman's got his kryptonite. I've got my cheesecakes, because, you know, I'll eat cheesecake all day long. I got a lot of kryptonite, to be honest. I'll just food. Just give me food, and I will probably eat. You could poison it. I'm gonna eat it. I will not trust any, or I will trust all food, because food is good. And oh, I went to the end on accident. Wait. Oops. Some leaks out there. I don't know how I went to the end, but all right. So Washington in general was known for knowing and controlling his weaknesses. However, he did have a really big kryptonite that affected him mentally. Like it really destroyed a lot of his confidence. And in reality, it also weakened the power he had over many of the people that worked under him, because they didn't like trust him, not trust him, but whatever Washington said wasn't taken 100% in, due to this one kryptonite that even Washington disliked, and he tried to find ways to get over, but he couldn't, and it really harmed his mentalness. It really harms mentalness. And this is his teeth. Now that's kind of funny, but like he always had teeth problems, and eventually he had false teeth, and he also had gum problems, which was shown. But his teeth, his false teeth, were made up of a mix of okay, mortifying would have been more. Yeah, so he would have been more effective at controlling, because people would have looked up to him as perfect. Because George Washington was a genius, and he was very effective, and he had his pretty hair. But the one thing, like, if you look at anybody, the first thing you notice is their smile. And when you see George Washington's teeth, you're like, ooh. And then you're suddenly less thinking about him, and more thinking about his teeth, and then you're like, ugh, his teeth. And this was a mortifying sign of weakness to him. Like I told you before, it affected his mentality, because he realized it was a big weakness, and he didn't know how to overcome it. Now, I have a picture of his teeth. I don't know if it's his, but it's an example of something that would have looked like it. And the teeth were made up of a mix of human teeth and horse teeth and other animals. But that's pretty disgusting. Now, his sidekick was Alexander Hamilton. This is my opinion. I'm probably wrong. But I kind of said Alexander Hamilton because you always see, like... So, alright, let me go to the first thing. So, Alexander Hamilton was a lieutenant colonel in the Army, the American Army. And he was part of George Washington's military family. So, he was very close. He was always working with Washington. However, Alright. Alexander Hamilton was known as a very smart person and made decisive decisions, right? He was very decisive. He once he made up his mind, he would follow through with it, and generally, like 95% of the time, he was right. But this led to him being a little rash, so when he was wrong, he wouldn't realize it, and he'd still do what was wrong. And something that was unique about him was that he could take any of Washington's commands and he could interpret them and execute them effectively. And also, wherever there was a gap in the commands, he could generally fill it. Like, he would know what to do in place. And that's very interesting. It shows how connected he is to Washington. And that was one of the main reasons why I was like, he's probably, like, George Washington as a superhero, his sidekick would be Alexander Hamilton. That was one of the main reasons, because they work well. Or I should say, they understand each other. Not really, because they had a rift. Alright, let's go to the rift. So, Alexander Hamilton always wanted to be a field commander, though, because George Washington had already fought for his glory in battle, as Game of Thrones would say. And pretty much, Alexander Hamilton, he was young. He was like 20, and George Washington was like 40-something. And Alexander Hamilton still had yet to prove himself in something as special as battle, which I don't think there's a lot. Well, the War of 1812 is coming. All right, so he always, this was before though. This is Revolutionary War, I think, and he wanted to be in a field command. However, George Washington wanted to keep him as somebody who works under him directly. And when when Alexander Hamilton worked under George Washington, Hamilton was more of a clerk, not really chores, but like he would execute things for Washington, but he wasn't doing anything special. He wasn't commanding anything himself. He was forced to, like, he was like a chore boy, kind of, like, to do what Washington wanted, and that kind of led to a rift between them, because Alexander Hamilton really didn't want to be doing these stuff. That was wasting his time. He wanted to do more active things that required him to do cooler stuff. He wanted to do cooler things with his life. Fork Washington, because, you know, we're family friendly out here. And they had a rift between them. So eventually, like, Washington was like, "Oh, you disrespect me." It was like some dumb confrontation over something like dumb that made no sense. And I think the reason why Washington kind of did it was because he realized it and he wanted to let Hamilton go without hurting his own pride. That's the way I would say, but, you know, it's my opinion. Like, you just take it or leave it. And eventually, like, Hamilton was able to resign without it being, like, he was able to resign and do his own stuff. And later, when Washington became president, and Alexander Hamilton done all of his own stuff, and he learned business and all that, Alexander Hamilton eventually joined the cabinet as Secretary of the Treasury, and then they continued to work together. So that's why I was like, yeah, he's kind of a sidekick, you know. Even they understood each other well, they worked well. They did have some problems, but I think overall it was kind of meant to be, and that's one of the reasons why. And also, I saw somewhere on the internet where it said that Alexander Hamilton had like a special connection to him, and that's why I was like, that's his sidekick, kind of. Not really, but maybe. And, oh, that's Alexander Hamilton. So, Washington's symbol. So there's a lot of symbolism in this. I photoshopped, not even really photoshopped. I just took a bunch of photos, and not even photos, and drawings, and I put them together inside slides. So, you know, this is like 10 out of 10, like, Google Slides Photoshop skills. So be ready to prepare yourself, like, you know, maybe I should change it. Maybe I should try. Alright, but that's a symbol I created. I know, right? Look at the symbolism. So, I kind of created the 13 colonies because I don't know, maybe I didn't need this, and maybe I needed the teeth, and then the hair and the stripes would have made sense. So, let me explain what I'm going for. So, basically, there's the wig, right? But he didn't have a wig, so it's ironic. And he had the fancy white hair without needing to fake it. So I was like, that's ironic and symbolic of his hair. Now, there's red, white, and the wig is white. Or, yeah, the wig is the white. And there's red and blue and the stripes. So this represents America. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Alright, wait. I thought I did 13 out of luck, but I didn't. Wait. Yeah, I don't think I did. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, I did 13. Dude, 13. Alright, that was on purpose. There are no coincidences. And so 13 to represent the 13 colonies. 100% on purpose. No cap, on God. Now we have his disgusting teeth again, and I hate looking at them. I'm never looking at, like, my mind blanks them out. Like, I'm so sorry that you have to witness his teeth. But, his teeth are a big part of him. It was his limiting factor. And, sometimes you just gotta take your weakness, and you just gotta be like, yeah, this is my weakness, I gotta laugh at it sometimes. You gotta accept yourself for it. And I don't think he did, but, it'd be cool if he did. I don't know. And then I put the 13 colonies, but apparently I didn't need them because I had 13 stripes. So this is my symbol that photoshopped, like my godly Photoshop. Like, guys, you don't want some of this. Ahaha, very cool. And his not so secret lair. So that's pretty much Mount Vernon. That's where he lived. That's his plantation ownership. I think it was like 8,000 acres, which is insane. And I was like, he's the head of this place at age 20. Of course this has to be a secret lair. Like, he's probably got some, like, hidden Batman cave underneath it. He's basically Batman. Like, he's rich. Is Batman famous? But he's rich. He's rich. That's all that matters. You don't need superpowers if you got money and brains. And my sources, you always gotta flex the sources out here. Wikipedia for the win. People are gonna attack me for using Wikipedia as a source. But to be fair, if I'm just looking for his birth date, I'm looking for where he was born. Wikipedia 100% of the time is going to be correct. And the reason for that is because they literally put their sources on the bottom of the page. And I'm not going to go out and go through every one of their sources. Wikipedia has what I need, and that's good enough for me. And if that's not good enough for you APUSH teachers or fellow students, well then too bad. So sad. Now, the second one's AMSCO. Now, the AMSCO is an AP US history book for learning. Big brains. I used a couple of things from it for references. And then mountvernon.org, I'm pretty sure it's dedicated. I mean, Mount Vernon's literally where George Washington lived, so I'm pretty sure it's a website dedicated to George Washington. Then New York Times, I used it. That was the teeth article that I mentioned before. And then PBS, I got something on the Hamilton and George Washington relationship. That's where I got most of the information from. And that's that. And thank you for watching this 20 to 30 seconds, a little bit over, minute video, and wasting your time learning about the superhero George Washington was. He didn't really have real physical powers, because I don't think he really did battle, did he? He led. He was a leader. That was it. He was able to effectively lead, and that's why he was so effective as a president. And that's why you always remember him to this day. It's not only that he was the first president, it was that he's probably the best president that there was. He's up there. He's definitely up there. Alright. And thank you for watching. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. And if you are new to the channel, subscribe again, because with your second account. And if you're part of my class, just comment in the comment section down below. Be like, yo, Daniel's so fly on God. And we don't say God's name in vain like that. I'm sorry. Yeah. Okay. I'm not Christian though. And have a nice day, and stay safe out there. Avoid all the other world politics stuff. Like, don't avoid it. I mean, stay safe when you're dealing with them. And have a nice day. Good evening. Bye.